Alright, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. As if any ladies are listening to this, but welcome to the Bad League Bad Pods podcast, episode 3. I am Zach Fuller. I'm here with Ben Dunn. Ben, how we doing this morning?
I'm feeling good, man. A little bit of a tough night on the track last night, but feeling good.
Yeah, I am. I'm actually coming in with a little bit more energy than usual this morning. I woke up early for NASCAR practice, early by my standards, 9 a.m. So,
Absolutely.
I've eaten.
Yeah,
I've had some coffee. I'm ready to go for this pod.
man, you're ready. I love it. We'll touch on that NASCAR practice for sure. It's good that Speed Week is here. Daytona Week is here. It's a good time.
Yeah, man. So, we want to start getting into this Chicagoland race last night, the Camping World 189.
Absolutely, it was a good time. It was. I think it was a good race. I think it was a good length. I think everything about it was a success. How did you fare during the race?
Well, I ended up leading the most laps. I feel like I had a lot of speed and probably should have finished in the top 3, at least in the top 5, but kind of got caught on the wrong strategy there and ran out of tires. Um, we ended up with 10 cautions, which was about 5 more than I expected we were going to have. So I kind of hedged my bets on having a lower amount of cautions, and it did not end up working out for me. We ended up 11th, but had a lot of speed, and um, yeah, I think I learned a lot for this car going for the rest of the season. How was your race?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I learned a bit. I didn't hedge my bet as early as you on no cautions, but I did a little later in the race. So that really kind of jumbled me up. I think at that last, it was about 100. We were on like lap 102 or something like that.
Yeah,
We had about 20 something laps to go. And I was sitting on a set. Some guys pit, some guys didn't. It was like 6 or 7 laps of a difference. And I kind of rolled the dice, hoping that would be our last caution if we had to run to the green. My plan was to literally just follow you up to the front there. So
yeah,
I had a decent race. I was frustrated because I had a lot of opportunities to gain track position and have myself in good positions quite a few times, and just shot myself in the foot each time. The time that I'm telling you about where you and I are trying to charge through the field. I got a little aggressive. I think you and I split Travis off 2, and I had hoped in my mind that I was going to have enough speed to clear him before we got to the corner. I didn't. We wound up side by side, and I had to enter really, really low,
mm,
which I hadn't done all race. Really slow the car down just to make the turn and not get up into Travis. And then I look in my mirror. Nick took a great entry. He's gaining on me. He's right on me, and I thought maybe I got to get in the gas. I got to get moving. And when I did, I got sideways, lost that. I managed to save it and not bring out a caution, but I did lose all that position. There was another time I started third again, got loose on cold tires, pushing it too hard. So just some dumb mistakes by me that really ruined what I think could have been a good night, because I did have a good bit of speed. I felt like in the long runs I was able to kind of hold my own and start to kind of reel the field in on our longer runs. I think our longest run was only about 30 laps or so. We didn't have too many
yeah,
crazy long runs. It was like right when we got to the point where it was starting to get interesting, we'd get a caution. So, um, that happens. But yeah, I wound up 13th again. A tough finish. The strategy at the end didn't help me. Restarting at the end with no tires, not a good look. So, um, you know, tough evening. But like you said, learned a lot, and I think going forward, maybe not roll the dice as much on these cautions, because I think we're just better and racing harder, and I think that just kind of brings some more cautions. I don't think these are like dumb mistake cautions. I think these are just, you know everyone's racing hard, man.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the field is closer than ever. I mean, we talked about last week how um, the amount of cautions we had at Chicagoland last season was maybe just because of the trucks, but that was a 12 caution race. This was 10, so and maybe this is just a Chicagoland thing as well. Um,
Yeah, could be.
because there's so many different lanes there. There's some bumps, like the front stretch. We saw multiple disagreements on over track position there on the front stretch with people merging and um, coming together. So Chicagoland, that could just be a product of Chicagoland. However, the other races we've done here have been pretty clean for the most part. We did get for the sixth time in CRS history a back-to-back first winner, Jack Drucker, in his second
Yeah.
start, bringing home the win. What did you think about that?
I think he ran a really good race. From what I could tell, he was up front for most of the race. Like you said, very cool to have back-to-back first-time winners with Travis last week and Jack this week.
Hmm.
I don't think this is going to be Jack's last win of the season. I think
Yeah.
he showed that he's got a lot of speed and was pretty strong. And like I said, I believe he was up there for most of the time. Whether it was a long run, short run, he had a lot of speed. I know late in the race when I started on slightly older tires, it he was about 2 or 3 spots back, and in the matter of 2 corners before a quick caution, he was right behind me. So he just, you know, had a advantage there with the tires. He played a good strategy and had himself in a good position. And then when it was showtime and time to win, he showed up. Man, he did well. He held off Austin by a little under half a second. He managed to not only get pole but fastest lap and lead 44 laps. So he swept our bonus points there with the win, the fastest lap in the pole, and leading a lap. So yeah, it was a good race for him. I see here his average running position the entire race was 2.5. So
Yeah.
he was up front. I can confirm that for a good majority of the race.
Yeah, he and I had some great racing there, kind of in the middle of the race, swapping the lead. Um, and yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think this is going to be his last one. I think it is his first season. This is his first league season, period.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
and I think he's probably going to be a legitimate challenger, like for the points championship, if you go off of
Yeah,
this
I
race alone. I mean, but he definitely has the speed.
completely agree. I think with this race specifically, the cautions. You don't like to see a race that's filled with cautions, but at the same time, I love the idea of it opening up different strategies. We saw a lot of people doing different things. First pit stop, some people pit, a couple people pit, some people stayed out. There was other pit stops where some stayed out,
Hmm.
and some pit. I think the priority on having an extra set of tires and saving those tires properly for when you needed them was big last night, and I think obviously cautions play into that. We were all very optimistic multiple times of thinking, no, well, maybe this is the last one. Maybe we're gonna have a quick one early and then run the rest of the race green like we have in the past. So I think it was while you don't like to see a ton of cautions, you do like the strategy part of it, which I think proved to be pretty entertaining there and really mixed the race up. So
Yeah, I was definitely way too optimistic there on I think it was about lap 20 something or maybe it was even like lap 15 when I
it was like
pitted for that.
16 or
Yeah,
17, I
when
think.
I
Yeah,
pitted for that
it was
first
early.
set. And yeah, definitely did not work out. What else did you want to talk about during this race?
I think we covered most of it. I mean, just a lot of good hard racing. We had a couple incidents that were just because of that.
Mhm.
I know that Austin and Zach Tyler got together again, a product of just racing tight. I got into. I know that I had a little hiccup and I had a weird, super loose, kind of snappy moment where I tried to save the car in like the middle of the pack, right in front of Judd, and him and I got together, got in an incident. So I think a lot of incidents from just hard racing, which was,
Yeah.
you like to see guys racing hard and trying to keep it clean. Nothing, nothing out of line, nothing intentional or anything like that. So, I can't complain too much about incidents. I think as long as there's some good hard racing, I think we'll figure that out. It's everyone's first time in this car in a
Right.
while, so I think that's another thing. First speedway race of the year, not Daytona, that kind of stuff. It might happen. So, um, I was looking through. So we've raced this track. Um, we've raced it prior, like you said. In the trucks, we had a ton of cautions. In the Xfinity car, not so much. But this definitely raised the average a little bit there.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a successful race, I think.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was, but during the race, they pointed out that we started this race with 18 people. I mean, it's a pretty large field based on what
Yeah,
we're used to. Um,
yeah,
so that could be another thing where guys are just getting used to the larger field. Like, you know, maybe maybe you feel like you have to rush to the front more than before because there's so many cars in front of you.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you can't hang back and like kind of save tires and let guys
yeah,
go as much as you used to be able to because
there's more
that track
traffic.
position's so important now. And like you said, with a bigger field, we got some some racing all throughout the field, which I loved. We had battles up front, battles in top 10, battles outside the top 10. I mean, it was all over the place. Guys were battling against each other, which you love to see. So I think it's
Yeah,
just you know it's going to be interesting going forward to see how that continues throughout the season. Um, but yeah, I think it was a good time. I really enjoyed the track. I loved that the high
yeah, it was
lane and the
fun.
low lane were both working with the way the temperature the way it was. I think we had a good we had a good draw for the bottom line was working, the top line was working. I know me personally, I practiced a lot on the high line. I honestly didn't even do much on the low line in practice until we got to the race. I felt pretty hooked up on that top line, but there were a lot of times where I realized that I needed to use the bottom simply because I was just losing ground early, to the guys who were running the bottom.
Yeah, I was able to run like the bottom and the top in 1 and 2. I felt like the top in 1 and 2 was really good, but it was probably harder on the tires, so I was trying to avoid it as much as I could. And then the bottom in 3 and 4 was definitely where I wanted to be, which is kind of a departure from my usual, you know, mindset at these tracks. I usually just stick to the wall and stay there, but um,
Yeah.
people say, the bottom is better on tires, so I'm really trying to learn how to do that because I usually have a good amount of speed, but then, 20, 30 laps in the run, Owen and Dylan usually just blow by me. Or you if you
I
don't
think
get
a
caught up in a wreck.
Yeah, I think a big thing I've learned over the past couple seasons is and just like in general, like on iRacing, I've learned a lot at some of these tracks that it's really good if you can to kind of run the bottom
Hmm.
first 15, 20 laps of a run, really kind of save those tires, and then once the run starts to pan out, you can move up. So like you kind of the goal, I guess, really of what I want is I want to sit there and ride the right rear for the beginning of the run, and once that starts to kind of go away, then I can head up to the top and start kind of working that right front.
Right.
I noticed I was paying attention to the percentage gaps of my tire wear when I was pitting. It started at 10 for me, and then it kind of worked its way down. So I could see myself kind of figuring out the strategy again, maybe a little too late, too little, too late. But I could see that what I was trying to do was working. It just was a matter of keeping myself from making mistakes, which I couldn't do. I just kept making mistakes. So, but this week, this race definitely, if we want to look at the current point standings, it definitely mixed things up. Um, it threw a lot of things. A lot of people gained spots.
Yep.
Uh, the big mover that I noticed, Austin gained 9 point spots with his second place finish.
Yeah,
He kind of
kind
had
of
an up
under
and
the
down
radar.
race. Like,
Under the
yeah,
radar there from
that's
Austin. Second
exactly. He
place.
had a bit of an up and down race. He was around a couple times. I saw him at the back. I saw him in the middle, and then at the end, he goes on to hang on and finish second. I believe he probably had that good tire strategy,
Yeah.
and like I said, huge second place for him because that bumped him up 9 spots in the points.
I want to
The
say he
big
was a
losers
lap
of the
down
week.
at one point.
I think you're right. After the first incident, he probably
Yeah.
did some damage
Yeah,
repair
he was in the
and took a
first
little too much
incident like
time.
on lap 2 or 3 or whenever that was.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so a big climb back from him. The biggest losers of the night looks like were the two Bens. Myself and
Mm.
BC found a way to lose 6 points each, or 6 spots in the points each. So
Yeah.
Um, like I said, that 13th for me hurt, and I believe BC finished 15th or 16th, and wasn't able to score anything. He finished 16th, so he didn't score any points. So, um, that's huge. That we got hurt so bad from that, kind of dug ourselves a little hole there. But Jack jumps up 7 spots with that win, takes the point lead.
Huge.
Dylan Perry still strong, holding second place. And third and fourth in the points, Zach Roten and Travis Zidlow. That front row coming to the finish of Daytona, they're still holding their own. I know Roten had a good night. He probably wanted a better finish with where he was restarting. He was leading at one point
Mm-hmm.
on the late restarts and wound up, I think, finishing eighth. So even though he probably wants better out of that, still a pretty solid finish for the strategy and the gamble that he took.
Yeah, I know Roden ran some practice laps, and it definitely showed. I mean, he definitely, with qualifying and just how he ran in the race, he definitely had more speed, I would say, than he usually does at these tracks, and that's
Yeah,
definitely a compliment. Like you could tell he was definitely driving a lot better than how he has maybe in past seasons. But an eighth place finish is good because for a fact he definitely could have had a better one. Um,
yeah, and on the note of Travis as well. I mean, Travis, he just kind of kept it clean. He's on a 2-year hiatus from this,
yep.
trying to get back into speedway racing in a tough car at a tough track. Managed to keep a clean race. He got a 12th place finish, which I know he probably wasn't too happy with, but I think the idea of him being able to keep it clean, um, and still be there at the finish. Got to feel good after coming off 2 years of not racing,
Yeah.
and going into a tough situation like that and being able to kind of piece together a decent run. So still holding on to that good spot to round out the top 5 in our points here. We have Christian, who jumped up 6 spots with a good finish by him as well. He came in third place. So
Yeah, starting from the back
um,
as well. Solid race there from Christian.
yeah, absolutely. Starting from the rear and being able to manage that and get up to third. He was quick. He was. I mean, he was speedy all night. Him and
Mm-hmm.
Judd were. I think he called it before the race, but he said that him and Judd were going to have about the same speed, and that's about where they were the entire race, kind of battling. And they finished pretty close to each other as well. I think. Judd got in that incident with myself. He got caught up in my mistake there, and was able to get his damage and fast repair. He went a lap down at one point. I think he might have gone 2 laps down. I feel like he caught 2 lucky dogs. Um,
He may have,
and
yeah.
because I know one time he was upset with me when I saved it coming off 4. It was like one of the greatest saves of my life. And he was really banking on a caution there to get himself back on the lead lap. He did wind up getting that caution, but yeah. So, a good rebound for him there after being involved in a wreck.
Yeah, classic CRS moment, being upset with somebody for saving it because you need a caution.
that is that is very vintage CRS. But
Yeah.
we go from one bumpy rough track to another next week.
Yeah. Auto Club
Auto
next
Club.
week. Let me see here. We have 150. No. 96 laps. I'm tripping. I was looking at Martinsville. 96 laps at Auto Club. That'll, I'm assuming, be a two stop if it goes green. But with the way this one went, I don't know if we can really expect a whole lot of green flag racing. I mean, there will
Yeah,
be
it
a good
it'll
amount, but how many cautions are there going to be? That'll be the
it'll
problem everybody's
for
trying to
sure be
solve.
interesting because the track's wider, but it's similar in the fact that it has a lot of lanes that you can race. I think
Yep.
it's going to be interesting to see how everybody kind of runs that. I believe, since it's Southern California in February, it's not going to be crazy hot, so the track shouldn't be super slick. I predict we'll probably see conditions similar to last night.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see what happens with the track wear a little later in the week. One thing I want to touch on before we leave Chicagoland is we talked about our track record last night. It was
Yes.
or last week. It was beaten last night. Jack's pole stuck him now in the record books for Chicagoland, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
30.821. He beat out Dylan by .004 for that pole. So
Just a flawless night from Drucker there with the grand
yeah, just
slam
a
and obviously setting the lap record. That's pretty cool.
just a class. Now we were talking about Auto Club previously. We've only been there one time in this car. Surprisingly, it was our season. It was our season where we did the multiple. Um,
Mhm.
where we did multiple classes. It was season 9, so we only ran 4 or 5 races in the Xfinity car, and one of them was at Auto Club.
You and I
And
finished
it,
fourth and fifth in that race.
I believe so, yes, sir. And it
Love it.
looks like it looks like it was a fairly good race. Nothing too crazy. In our just overall history at Auto Club, we don't have, a history of a ton of cautions. Um, I
Mhm.
believe from what I see here, as a league, we've done four races here. Um, Owens won 3 of them. Judd won the other. We only have 12
Oh
cautions
yeah.
total. So,
So Auto Club, I didn't even think about this, but last season Auto Club was like the last 30 laps of that race were insane because it was I was in the lead, Owen was right behind me, and we were battling so hard for the lead, literally for 30 laps like green, okay? And then that was the one where on the last lap Owen dove to the inside in 1 and 2 and like he had not won a race at that point in the season, so he was really trying to go for this win and he like tried to slide job but he wasn't clear and then that put me in the wall and then we both spun out and then Judd came through
mm,
to win that one. And that was
mm,
like it was definitely like uncharacteristic from Owen, but I think he wanted to win so bad um
yeah.
that that we just got together, but um yeah, I completely forgot about that race. That was a great one last season, honestly. Even though yeah, there was one caution in that
Yeah,
race last
three
season,
three
which is
laps.
which is
N-
again uncharacteristic for how that season was.
19 lead changes, 8 different leaders. Um, which was huge. You say the one caution. I point out that we only had 16 total incident points as a lobby, right? With 11 cars
Yeah,
in there. So,
that was great
it
racing
was
too. It was like a
yeah.
baby super speedway kind of. It was awesome. Everybody was right
e-
there.
Everybody's in the double digits for passes
Yeah.
last season. So, that's it's going to be interesting. I think to see kind of how that pans out. I'm pretty interested in seeing how these cars race there because these are a whole different animal in the trucks, a lot less grip, a lot more throttle work, especially as that
Mhm.
run goes on. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, we will definitely not be all on top of each other like a baby super speedway.
Yeah.
The one race we did do in the Xfinity car, there were zero cautions.
Oh wow.
And as a group, we had zero incident points. So,
Yeah,
um,
3 lead changes with only 3 different leaders.
yeah.
So, you only had you led 4 laps. Owen led 71 of them. Dylan led 17 of them. So it seemed to be, um, a pretty spread out race. I mean, Owen won the race by almost 16 and a half seconds. So with the no cautions and obviously
Hmm.
pit strategy and whatnot, it just kind of became a matter of who can manage, who can last, who can pit on and off better than anyone else. I can't tell how many pit stops we did make, but I'm guessing at 95 laps it was
It was probably two.
92 laps. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I'm guessing it was probably a one-stop race. I would think, but I'm not 100% sure. But I would say so
one
because
or two.
based on how the fuel kind of ran out last night. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say those 4 laps that I led, I'm certain those were in a pit sequence. I don't think that I drove up there and got the lead. Take a look, Ben, at the gap between Nick in third and me in fourth. Six one
Oh
hundredths of a
wow.
second. I remember that. I was in front of Nick, barely hanging on to my tires, and he passed me. And then there was a lapped car in the way. I cannot remember who it was. It probably is better if I don't even say it, even if I did remember. But the lapped car got in the way of Nick, and then so I retook the lead with 2 to go, and then he passed me in the final corner, I think, um, to get that spot. That's why that gap is so tight. But
Wow.
yeah, I feel like Nick and I always run super similar on those big tracks like Auto Club in Michigan. We've had some good battles there. So if Nick is
Yeah.
if Nick is there this week, he and I will probably run fairly close together.
Yeah, he and I battled a good bit last night, and he's just always good at these. In this car specifically,
Yeah.
he's good at the tire saving, the managing, and the and being there on the longer runs. So with a no caution race there, that does make sense that he was kind of hanging around in this car, and managed to have a good finish there. Yeah, we both found our way into the top five last time we were here,
Yep.
with only 11 cars on the track. So maybe a little more chaos, a little more competition. Could be interesting to see what next week brings as far as what you got to do to finish well there. Will we stay green? Will we have cautions? It kind of be a repeat of this week. We don't know. It should be pretty interesting to find out though.
Definitely, guys. I look for to run well here. Obviously, Owen 3 wins here. Um, the huge win in this car. Dylan clearly with the tire saving he had last night. I think he's especially if we go long green flag runs, he's going to be a huge threat. You have to throw Jack Drucker in to
Absolutely.
be running up there. Um, Judd King as well. Um, he seems to be pretty good at tire saving these days. So is there anybody I missed there on the ones to look out for?
No, I think your tire saving guys, could prevail here. I think it's going to be very important. Um, I think I think our two dirt guys are gonna kind of make some noise because it's a slick track, a lot of lanes, a lot of abilities for sliders and whatnot. Those guys always seem
Yep.
to kind of manage that track pretty well, as we see in real life. With like a Kyle Larson and a Tyler Reddick being strong at those kind of tracks. The dirt guys, in real life, kind of seem to do well. So I assume that might transfer over. Last time we were here, also Christian finished dead last, like 78 laps down. I'm guessing that was like an early incident or something that got him out of the race, or something happened. But I assume that he'll be up there as well. So,
Yeah, definitely.
I expect it to be pretty competitive up front, battling for those top five spots for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of the dirt guys, I can't remember if we touched on this, but they were both in the top five there at Chicagoland, so that theory definitely checks out.
Yeah,
Anything else
absolutely.
you got
That
on
fits him well.
Auto Club before we switch gears
No,
here?
I think we've pretty much covered everything from last night. Everything for next week. I think as this season goes on, it's going to be fun to watch what unfolds, and who manages to do what where. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tight all around the field. I think we're gonna get a super good championship battle this season with just one thing we didn't really touch on is, I mean, the slow start from Owen, but I feel like that's kind of an expected thing at this point. He usually starts slow and then wins the last
Yeah.
10 races of the season, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about the biggest real race of the year, the
Let's
Daytona
go, man.
500. We had the first practice today. As
Absolutely.
I said, I woke up at the crack of dawn, 9 a.m. Central, uh, to watch the practice, which was fairly uneventful. Most guys just ran a couple laps. Some of them drafted, some of them not. Um, the two RFK cars had some kind of steering issue, and their right front was like dragging the ground. There was some smoke. It was slightly dramatic, but
Hmm.
um, that's the good thing about having this practice session is like, had we not had this, they would have been qualifying with that, and that would have been really not good. I think Eric Jones had that as well, and there was one other car um, that
Yeah, I
had
heard
that
something
the
about
smoke.
Jones having some clutch issues
Oh,
or
that's
something
right.
like that.
Yes. Jones had a clutch issue. I don't even think he got out on the track. So the other two Legacy Motor Club cars did. Um, and then so everybody was making single car runs, and then there with 5 minutes to go, the Toyotas all grouped up and they topped the field. So yeah, then we got qualifying tonight. What are you watching for in qualifying?
I, you know, I think like one of the biggest things that we've seen over the past couple of years, some of the Fords on these super speedways, especially the front row guys, have really just found some speed
Yeah,
over the last season or so, when it comes to qualifying on these tracks. Like Gilliland and McDowell both qualified really well there in the fall, and I think they did the same at Dega. So I expect those guys to run well. I remember looking at it yesterday, and like I think Todd Gilliland had the best odds for pole, which is kind of
that's
crazy to
so
think about.
crazy.
But basically, when you had looked at the odds yesterday, I know that they have since changed, but I know Dylan and I were talking about it yesterday that the odds were, kind of shocking. The only thing really not too surprising, this was the first Toyota was Christopher Bell, and he was like the 16th favorite or something
Yeah.
like that. So 15th or 16th favorite. So like I think one thing we'll see is the Toyotas just seem to don't have the single car speed at these tracks. They draft really well, which I mean, obviously in the race it's a good priority to have, to be able to draft and be fast, as we saw them take the top three spots um, in practice. I think it was Denny, Bubba, and Ty Gibbs maybe.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was with they were all lined up.
yeah. So look, I'm looking at the Fords, and I'm looking at uh, your Hendrick Chevys, specifically Bowman and Byron. They seem to always do well in this qualifying, and I feel like I've seen them on the front row quite often over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I'm going to be watching out for sure.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, obviously Hendrick kind of has a history with you know, with the front row speed. But no pun intended, front row has kind of been the class of the field at these super speedway
Yeah.
qualifying, so hard to bet against them. Before we get into the open guys, let's each put in a prediction. What who or geez, can't talk. Let's put in a prediction for our pole position.
Yeah, I think as much as my heart wants me to go with these front row guys, and I want to pick Gilland. I think it's if it's not a Bowman or a Byron, I think we look at a Logano or a Blaney.
Yeah,
My pick is probably going to be, I think Ryan Blaney can put himself on pole here. Penske guys again, just always fast here, and he seems to be the strongest of the Penske guys over the last couple years. So my pick is probably gonna be Blaney.
Blaney, that's a good pick. And I will say during the practice session, Logano was the first car off pit road. And Larry Mack made a point that the single car speed that he had was, I think it was 3/10 slower than the qualifying speed last year, which is at night.
Wow.
So he basically said that was a good sign for Logano. So I think that's a good pick there from a Penske car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to my my kind of predictions for how the season is gonna go. I'm gonna say it's a front row car, and I'm gonna say it's Noah Gragson. I don't know why.
Ooh,
I have a feeling.
I like it.
Maybe that's a bad pick. Maybe it's going to be Gilliland, but with them going over to front row and also having a lot of the guys from Stuart Haas on that team, I think with all those
Yeah.
resources, they're going to be able to put it together. So my pick is Noah Gragson. Let's get into the open teams. So two cars are going to make it on speed tonight, and then
We got what? 9 cars, 9 open cars qualifying.
yes, it is. I have the list here. It is Corey LaJoy, Justin Allgaier, J.J. Yaley, Martin Truex Jr., Anthony Alfredo, Chandler Smith, B.J. McLeod, Jimmy Johnson, and Elio Castroneves. So, um, stacked field. This is the most open cars we've had in a minute. Um,
Yeah.
it looks like I think either 4 or 5 of them are going to go home. Do I have that right?
I actually don't know 100% how it's gonna work, as far as them, but that sounds correct.
Yes, it is because
Um,
Elio's in no matter what. So if he makes it on speed, then 5 of them will go home.
yeah.
And then if he
Is there
doesn't
any
make it
type
on
of like,
speed, 4 of them will go home.
is there any type of like championship thing? Because you got Truex and Jimmy in there. I
Yeah,
know in the
no,
past there's been divisionals and whatnot, but I think there's nothing for it. So
no. You could make the
that'll be
argument that there
interesting.
should be, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. So let's do this. I've heard some other podcasts do the same prediction. So let's get ours in. Let's predict our 2 in on speed and our 2 in from the duels.
So my 2 in on speed, I think you got to consider Justin Allgaier
Yes,
in the Junior Motorsports debut and Cup. They have a Hendrick Alliance. I think that car is going to be fast
agree.
enough to make it in. And then the second one for me, it's a toss up between Jimmy and Martin. I
Oh,
think
really?
again, I just look at the guys who have the assistance from the bigger teams. I know that Castroneves does as well, But it may not be a crazy priority for them since since he knows he's going to make the race. I think you got to look at Truex. You got to assume they're paired something to do with with Toyota being paired with either
Yeah,
2311. I know it's technically a Tricon entry, but you got to consider they probably have some 2311 help or some some Gibbs
yeah.
help,
I think it's
of
basically a
some
Gibbs
sort.
car.
Yeah, exactly. A Gibbs 2311 hybrid car. Um, and then Jimmy as well. I mean, Jimmy wants to make the race. He wants to be in there. Obviously, the Legacy Motor Club has had its struggles in the past, but I think I think it's hard to count out 7 time.
Yeah, I'm with you on Justin Allgaier. Um, However, I don't see the Toyotas getting in on speed. Um,
Yeah,
Everything you just said is valid about having the top tier support, but I don't know. I feel like that car just has too much drag in it to. I mean, we haven't seen them qualify well at any of the super speedways. However, there are some kind of slower cars in this, so maybe they could beat them out. The name I go to make it on speed, even though they obviously know they're going to be in the race, I feel like it's going to be Allgaier and Castroneves because
yeah,
the Chevys are quick and while they are in the field, I think they would like to, you know, get a little bit of a return on their investment. And if they use their provisional, they're not going to make any money. So,
yeah.
um,
Good point.
my my pick is going to be Allgaier and Castroneves to get in on speed. And then who are your two who are going to race their way in?
I think one of my always fun picks at these races, whether it be in Xfinity or in Cup, is always Anthony Alfredo. He's a
Yeah.
good plate racer. He finds his way to keep himself safe and work his way to the front. I know he's raced in that 62 card in the past and gotten it into the race. So I wouldn't be surprised if Alfredo finds a way to race himself in the duels. I don't think that car will have the speed to just have outright qualifying speed,
Hmm.
but I think in the duels he'll fare well. And when I compare him to a lot of these other guys on the race, if I'm assuming Allgaier and either Truex or Johnson are in, or Cash Nervous are in, and I look at the other guys, if I kind of eliminate those four and I look at Alfredo versus Yaley, McLeod, Chandler Smith, and Corey, I think Alfredo has a chance to beat um, all those guys. Corey's a pretty good plate racer,
Yeah.
but you don't know what to expect out of that car coming out of Rick Ware. You kind of never really know what to expect with them. So Alfredo will be my first pick. And then I think if he doesn't get in on speed, I think Truex will find a way to get himself in the race for sure.
So you've got Allgaier, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr., and Anthony Alfredo.
Those are my four. Yes, and
Okay.
and and I could swap Jimmy with Helio, for sure.
Right.
But again, because they have that provisional, I'm not sure how much urgency they're going to have. I agree on your return on investment there with that, but I think also Helio's not doing this to make money. He's doing it kind of for the
Yeah.
experience. So I think if they prioritize that, make sure that he is in the race no matter what. He might not have to get up there and mix it up and really kind of risk things in the draft until it's race day.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think regardless, I don't think they'll go super hard in the duels.
Yeah,
Um, if they're in or not on speed, I don't think they'll because you don't want to risk the car. And then not only if you're using the provisional, the team's not making any money, but also if you crash, then you're really in the hole now because you got to
yeah,
get a whole nother car. So, um,
yeah.
if they make it on speed, maybe he'll go up there and race and try to learn. But also, I think Elio is a racer. Like, I don't think he'll be very satisfied with just riding around. But
You're right
um,
about that. Actually, it's a good
all
point.
all that being said, so I had Allgaier and Castroneves on speed, and yeah, this is a tough one actually. So I'm gonna say Jimmy
Tough call
makes
right
it.
on the spot.
Huh? What's
Okay.
up?
It's a tough call right on the spot
Yeah,
like this.
I actually didn't give this a whole lot of thought beforehand. I think I'm gonna give the one of the dual spots to Jimmy. Um,
I like it.
because they've got that Shaq production deal that they're doing. So I think he's really gonna be motivated, as if he wouldn't be otherwise. But um, I think Jimmy will make it in on the duels, and then, geez, I would go with Corey LaJoy, but I feel like he's gonna be like checkers or wreckers. situation.
Yeah,
These duels are gonna be
I think
awesome. Like,
absolutely.
um,
I think so too,
I
man.
want to go with Truex or Alfredo or LaJoy, but you know what? I'm not gonna pick any of them. I'm picking Chandler Smith
Ooh,
because, yeah, you know what? LaJoy, Truex, and Alfredo are gonna have a sport ender, and Chandler Smith's gonna come through to take the last one. So yeah, that's my pick.
I like it. I mean,
We'll send it.
I do kind of see, your guys, those guys being LaJoy and Alfredo specifically because they've been here before in this situation. They're going to be racing the hell out of the thing.
Yeah.
So I do kind of understand what you're saying there, and Chandler Smith could just hang out, avoid the crap, and find himself in a great position, um, in those races. So I like that pick.
Well, we'll see how it turns out. Let's see. On the notes here, we have what do you want to see? So where do you want to go with that?
So
What do we want to see
I
in the
think
race?
I think before that, I want to go. I want to jump to the
Okay.
next one. I want to go back to what you said about. You said that you think the races are going to be awesome. I completely agree with you. I think over the last, I think last year specifically, we saw this package with these next gen cars, which initially wasn't great on the super speedways,
Yeah.
um, turned out to be pretty awesome. We saw our four wide at Talladega. I know there was some fuel saving in place
Yeah.
there, but it's still awesome. And I think the end of the fall race, the regular season wrap up last year, I think that was like one of the best plate races I've ever seen on this car. Like that was just it was one of the better races I've
In
seen in
this
a while.
car
It was
for sure.
really
Yeah.
it was really exciting. Guys seem to be able to draft well and push and make moves, go three wide. Like there was a lot of stuff going on. There wasn't any of that stuff where where we've seen in the past with the car where someone goes to try and make a move and get a lane developed, and it just goes absolutely nowhere. Guys were able to do that, which I thought was pretty exciting. And then obviously coming down to the finish of that race, with the Harrison Burton, the big push from Parker Retzlaff to get by Kyle Busch right at the end of a last second, last turn, push to get that win and to get down in front of Kyle. I think it was absolutely electric. So I'm hoping that that theme continues and that we get some really good racing out of this car and this package on this track. I look forward to a great 500, and like you said, the duels as well are going to be a nice little appetizer for Sunday.
Yeah, I think this is with all the open stuff, this is definitely the most excited I've ever been for qualifying for the 500.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really got back into NASCAR around 2018 from, I kind of took a break from watching
Hmm.
from probably 2008ish to 2018. And since 2018, at least, this is definitely the most excited I've been for qualifying. Um, you bring up the fall race there, um, with Parker Retzlaff. He was in the 62, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
you're right. It
Uh,
was that car, that Beard Motorsports car. Yep.
yeah. Do you think he's not in the 62 because of that push? Because there was a lot of
Ooh,
conversation. There was a lot of
you're right.
conversation when that happened. Like, oh, why'd you push a
There
Ford
sure
to the
was.
win? And I mean,
Especially when it was an RCR affiliate, right? So it
yes,
was pushing a Ford that was also racing against a team you're affiliated
right.
with, not only manufacturer wise, but team wise. So yeah, you're right. That's something that's something I hadn't thought of. But whether they were still salty about that or they just knew that Alfredo's done this before. He's raced his way in
Hmm.
before, and he's had good races in that car before. I think it could be maybe a little bit of both. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thought. That just came to mind when you brought that up. But you know, Retzlaff going for his first win of his career, maybe his only win. You never know when you're going to get another shot. Like I don't
I
think he
think with his
did
first
anything
start
wrong,
too.
but yeah, I believe so. And
Yeah.
you can't really blame him for what he did, but there was a
No.
lot of conversation around that. Like, Chevy's not going to be too happy about that. I wonder if
Yeah,
that.
I kind of forgot about that. You're right. I kind of forgot that even
I
happened. That
wonder
it was.
if he pushes Kyle Busch to the win there. Are we talking about Retzlaff in the 62 right now, or does
Yeah,
it not matter at
that's
all?
that's a good point, and I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
So we got qualifying tonight, duels tomorrow. Do we?
now we can go back to our what do you want to see for. You want to just do like what do you want to see on Sunday? That's kind of what I was getting at when I put that in
Okay.
there. What would you like to see as far as a result, whether it be the racing or whatnot, but mainly just like results oriented. What are you kind of looking forward and hoping to see?
Well, I'm not a super fan of the super speedway package with this car. I feel like that's a super, played out topic, but I don't know. I was a huge fan of like how it was in 2020 and 2021. That was like the best super speedway racing we'll probably ever get, but um
The big runs, the big
yeah,
shoves,
I mean it was awesome. But we are where we are now, so
a little
I would
dangerous.
yeah, oh definitely, definitely. Lots of
I'm
danger,
glad
lots
it's a
of
little more
flips.
tame for sure. It
Yeah.
definitely seems a lot more tame now than I don't like fear, you know, anytime someone throws a block. We saw that big Newman wreck in 2020 and that
Yeah.
was because of, the extreme pushes of that package and the huge runs that that car got. So,
Well, I
um
mean, we say that, and it definitely was more dangerous. I don't think anybody would argue that, but like, think about the wreck Blaney had last year at the fall race, and I mean, he's had
oh
some
yeah.
massive shunts at these super speedways, like head on into
Yeah.
the wall. So, um,
I think McDowell too, right? When he tried to block Keselowski at
oh
Dega,
yeah,
we
that
saw
was a big one.
same type of thing where there was a big impact involving a big block thrown, whether it
Yeah,
be late or what. I mean, it's hard to say some of these blocks are thrown too late when the runs are as big as they are now. That's kind of hard to
yeah,
say. Well, he threw a late block. It's like, well, I mean, Keselowski was flying, man. He had like
yeah.
8 cars behind him, and McDowell's doing everything he can to hold his position there. So
It's a
I wouldn't be
product
surprised
of
if we see
this
something like
racing.
that. You're 100% right.
Yeah, but
You
I
know,
mean, from what I want to see, I mean, I want to see, long green flag runs. I want to see. Unfortunately, I would like to see some wrecks. I think I
yeah,
just being honest, like people don't like to say that, but that's it's the Daytona 500, man. I want to see a big one. Sometimes we get through these races and there's not really a big one, and it's like, well, that wasn't really a classic
yeah. For
super
me,
speedway race.
give me like a big one that doesn't involve. I don't. I'm hoping for no, for not like 5 green white checkers.
Yeah,
I think. I loved that. I loved the fall race at Daytona where we finished. Under green, there wasn't 18 cars crashing as we came to the line.
yeah,
Um, it was a good finish where no one did anything really too crazy. Harrison threw a great block on Kyle
yep,
wasn't one of those ones that resolves in a wreck. He timed it perfectly and did everything right there. So I'm with you on I don't mind a good big one every now and then. I don't want to see a bunch of green white checkers to end the race. As fun as exciting as overtime can be, it also just opens the door for more chaos
yeah,
and to the point where it gets sloppy. Right? There's like a fine line between what's exciting and what is just kind of out of hand and
just
ugly.
chaos. Yeah, I think I would like to see a superstar win the race. We've
I was
had a
thinking
lot
that's
of.
exactly where I was going to go too with that, man. I've seen that on Twitter.
Hmm.
Over the past couple of days, people saying that they'd love to see, you want one of your big names to win this race, and I know we had Byron last year, and not take anything away from Byron, but that you know was not the biggest name. I mean, he did it in the 24 car. That's awesome, right,
Yeah,
for Hendrick, but I don't know. I guess people didn't take that as much of a big win as some of the diehards do, who kind of know Byron a little more than just your kind of casual. We're kind of when we're talking superstars, we're thinking your casual viewer will tune in and recognize the person up front winning,
yeah,
right?
and to be fair, there with Byron, that was a pretty forgettable finish there under caution, like in the first 100 feet of the lap as well. Like, I want to see a good
Yeah.
finish to the line. Um, but
Yes.
yeah, I would love to see obviously Kyle Busch, 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration.
That's
That'd probably get me
one
all
of
the
the
way
biggest
to
things I want.
2026. Like
Yeah.
that would make the whole season for me. Um,
That's a big thing that I want as well. I think it was like maybe it was like a sign that he didn't win that race in the fall because he's due to win this one, right?
yeah, good point. Um, You got Hamlin going for his fourth after all the struggles he's had on super speedways in this new car. I think that would be sick. He's also
Yeah.
obviously very popular for some good, some bad reasons among the fan base right now. Um,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean Chase Elliott coming off the Clash win, that could be huge. Brad Keselowski going for his first. I mean, we have a lot of really good big names. that have not won this race. I'd be super pleased to see one of them. And no disrespect to like I don't know John Hunter Nemechek or somebody, but
Yeah.
I want to see not to call out John Hunter, but I want to see a big name win this race.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That was a big thing for me for the want to see was I was going to touch on that because like I said, I've seen it on Twitter throughout the week. People discussing you want your stars winning these races, and so I think that would be really cool. I think I joked with Dylan over the week that the Chase Elliott thing, winning the Clash in this race in NASCAR. It's almost I equate it to winning like the par three at the Masters, where the guy who does that doesn't typically go on to win the big tournament. And I feel like that theme may continue here, where Chase won the Clash. Can he go on and win the big one? Who knows?
Yeah,
But obviously, obviously Chase, one of your most popular driver, winning would be top of everyone's list for it'd be good for NASCAR and everything like that as well. Um, you know, I think I think your Hamlin Logano Wallace would be a controversial win where some people are going to love it, some people are going to complain about it.
yeah,
Um, and I think I mean honestly I think everybody would have that, but um, even like a Ryan Blaney, I know I picked him to get on pole, but he's a good plate racer,
yeah,
and this is kind of like a big race that he obviously wants and doesn't have in his trophy case yet. I think that that would be big for him, and he would love that. And I think that's one that everyone would almost kind of feel good for.
yeah. Definitely. I didn't even mention Logano, Wallace, and Blaney, but they're all very good super speedway racers. I'm hoping Logano doesn't win because that ruins my prediction right off the bat that he won't make the playoffs. But uh, he definitely could. I mean, I feel like he's always up front at these. He's definitely going to qualify well. It's just a matter of can he stay out of trouble. And
Yeah,
Bubba Wallace, I think, has like two or three second place finishes at these.
yeah,
Obviously, Blaney's always up front, so yeah, those are definitely good picks too.
yeah. And I think I'm pulling up the odds right now. I'm kind of if you're looking at it, your favorite right now is Kyle Busch, very slightly favored over Denny Hamlin. So, it seems like Vegas thinks that Kyle's gonna have a good race as well. We'll see if that plays out. But when you look at the odds, it's like exactly what we're talking about. A lot of your stars top the list: Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Blaney,
Yep.
Logano, Chase, Keselowski, Larson. I unfortunately have no faith in Kyle Larson. I think I made the joke to Dylan yesterday that I think Kyle Larson has more championships than top fives at super speedways. So he doesn't have good luck there
Yeah.
ever. I think a big thing that I always kind of laughed at was the other day on that NASCAR Tubi channel. I watched the 2014 500, and
Oh, I
that was his
watched that
first
one.
race. Yeah, that was his
Yeah,
first race,
I
and
saw
I
him.
realized it's where all his bad luck came from, man.
Yeah,
That race was a mess for him. He's cutting tires early, he's hitting the wall.
yeah,
I mean, he just had the worst luck and just had like the worst possible 500 and debut that you could have. And I think it's just cursed him on these super speedways, man.
yeah. Talladega last season was his first top five ever on a super speedway. When
So
he
yeah, so he
was,
might have. So yeah, so he has as many championships as top fives
yeah,
at super
literally,
speedways,
literally.
which is wild. And he's been in the series for over 10 years now. So
Yeah, and then
it's pretty
Atlanta
crazy.
last season in the playoffs, he ate shit on his own. Um,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, I
that was a
guess
big
do you
one.
count that as a super speedway? I don't know, but
Sort of. I don't know how we're gonna start ranking Atlanta because
it's
it
kind of its
races
own
like one,
thing
but yeah, it really is kind of its own little
because it's
unique thing. I don't.
handling, it's flat out, it's yeah,
Yeah, it's it's interesting what Atlanta is. That'll be. We'll talk about that next week because that's coming up right after this. But give me to kind of put a bow on everything here. I want some race predictions from you. I want you to give me a favorite. I want you to give me who you want to win, who you think will win, and then give me a long shot, a guy who, if I said, this person has crazy odds and you got to throw $5 on him to win a bunch of money, who's your kind of long shot that could survive the chaos and find their way up front towards the end.
yeah. So what website are you using for the odds?
I'm on just like a CBS Sports,
Okay,
which
so
was
yeah,
released this morning.
I'm on USA Today, so the
Okay.
the known credible NASCAR reporting site of USA Today, but um Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
CBS
see.
Sports as well. Yeah, we're doing well here. Yeah,
Yeah, this is a great research here at the Bad League Bad Pods headquarters.
that's
But
how we do it, man.
let's see, a favorite. Uh I am. I've been saying this. I'm gonna say Hamlin gets his fourth. I don't know why. That's probably a bad pick, but with the way he's done on these super speedways, I'm gonna say Hamlin gets his fourth. I think it'd be a great story,
Yeah,
especially everything that we don't even need to say about the lawsuit and everything and all that. I think it'd
yeah.
be
Kind of
I th-
almost forgot about that.
yeah. I think that'd be fun. And then a long shot here. Let me see. I'm going down the list. Um, Justin Allgaier's not a bad pick. Corey LaJoy if he makes the race. Um, Let me see. Who am I gonna go with? You know what? Plus 5,000 on USA Today. I'm sticking with it. I'm going all the way. Noah Gragson.
I knew it. I knew it was coming.
uh,
I mean, it's a good pick though. I mean, he'll keep it clean. He's in good equipment,
yeah,
and you know, as long as he avoids the wrecks, he'll be up there for sure.
yeah.
Um,
Plus 5,000. That would be, I believe, $250 if I bet $5 on him. So,
it's not
um,
bad.
yeah, let's take it. Noah Gragson. That's my long shot.
For me, I've been continually harping on, and I'll die on the hill that I think it's Kyle Busch's time to win this race.
Ooh,
I think
I would love that so much,
again
dude.
we saw him up front, running really well there in the fall. He's he's another guy kind of like Larson, not as bad of luck, but Kyle always does seem to have some bad luck on these speedways. I don't think he has a ton of wins on super speedways. Um, so I think it'd be interesting and just great to see Kyle do it. And like you said before, I think it's almost like a 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration type situation where this guy has been at this for so long. It's the one thing that he doesn't have in his career. He has everything. He wins in everything in the NASCAR series that he gets into, right?
Yeah,
And this is the one thing that's kind of evaded him, which is like a very very Dale Earnhardt esque, where it's like this guy has done it all except this one race. So I think that would be an awesome, not only just an awesome storyline. I think it would just be awesome for Kyle. He had a rough season last year. I think it'd be awesome to see him start off on the right foot by winning this race, and really kind of jumpstart his 2025 season. And then as my long shot, you mentioned his name, and I'm gonna stick to it, man. I seriously think that 40, that JRM car. I think Justin Allgaier
ooh,
has a chance to, like I keep saying, avoid the carnage and be there and have a chance. I think that car is gonna have speed. Allgaier has proven in the Xfinity Series he's a very disciplined plate racer, and he always seems to kind of keep himself clean and not get too much in the mix. He's one of those guys that just kind of appears up at the front at the end of the race, and you're like, where the hell's he been all race?
yeah,
You know. So I got to go Allgaier just a matter of if he keeps it clean. He's CBS Sports has him at plus 4,000. They didn't put the I in, so it just says just Allgaier. So even more for that. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna
well,
go with just for sure.
shout out
Um,
to CBS Sports, man. Yeah, USA
it's
Today has him
hard
at
work.
plus 6,000.
Oh wow. So okay, so we got a little different lines. Regardless, it's a good long shot.
Definitely.
It's sure it's fun to go crazy, crazy longer and pick like a Riley Herbst or SVG, but I think a realistic long shot for me would be Allgaier because he has experience on these. He has the most experience at any of the back half of those guys as far as competing for wins at super speedways and keeping the car clean and racing well and being there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And how awesome would it be for everybody if
Oh my
Dale
goodness.
Jr. won his first Daytona 500 as a car owner? Like,
People wouldn't even talk about Justin Allgaier.
yeah,
They would just talk about Dale. It would feel like Dale won the race.
pretty
Like he
much.
got in the car himself and went
Most
out and
of the
won the damn
content
thing.
would be about him in victory lane. I mean,
But like, I
um,
mean, you're right. Like, what a cool story it would be for Dale to go out in their first try. I saw the pictures on Twitter. He said he would be there at 6 a.m. this morning when they're rolling the car off the truck for the first time, and he was. He was
yeah,
there, standing at the trailer, 6 in the morning. Just as happy as ever. I mean, he's just such a like a kid at heart, man.
yeah,
He he cracks me up, and he just the fact that he's there and he's like, "Yep, I'm gonna." He's so into it. You know, sometimes you see these guys who kind of come in and put a car in the series, and they're not. You know, you don't see him around. But I mean, Dale's there every step of the way, man. He's in the garage with the guys. He's probably up on the box the entire race
Oh yeah, I
watching.
agree.
It would be exciting, man.
Yeah, it would be. And then yeah, like you said, your favorite Kyle Busch. I mean, if he's leading off turn 4, I can already hear Mike Joy. Surely he plans to do the same call as he did with Dale Earnhardt. Like, surely he's got the 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration in his back pocket for that. I hope.
Yeah,
Or maybe he
yeah.
comes up with something different. I don't know. But um, yeah, I mean, we've touched on it multiple times. But yeah, Kyle Busch would be sick.
I think it'd be cool too because as hated as he's been in the past, I
Yeah.
think as he gets older and he ages, you know, people kind of come around and I think a lot more people would be happy to see him do it now than if he kind of did it in his prime when he was, you know, enemy
Oh
number
yeah.
one. You know, I think a lot of people now, I think there's a lot more people who would be really happy to see it versus, you know, had he done it, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, right? You know, so
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think I'm good on Daytona. You got anything else?
I think I'm good, man. We touched on everything that I want. You know, we'll be back next week and we'll recap our auto club, talk about the 500, take a look at Atlanta.
Yep, it's gonna be exciting. I am. We got the trucks on Friday, ARCA Saturday, then a happy hour on Saturday for the Cup Series. That was something I missed, but um, and then Xfinity that night, um, and then yeah, the big race on Sunday. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. Ben, this was fun, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, man. Of course,
Um,
as always.
and we will be back on Wednesday.
Yeah. Thank y'all for listening. And
Alrighty. We will see y'all
good
next
luck.
week.
Good luck on Tuesday.
Yep, you too. Alrighty.
See
See you
you.
guys.